Nesachta Menochos Daf Samach Beis Amar Al. We're starting from the top, from the word Ketzad. From Ketzad, here we go. Ketzad. Ketzad Oisa. How does one do the procedure when it comes to the Kavan Shlomim? So it says Maniach Eimurim Al Pisayad. He takes the fats, puts it on the hand. And then he takes the chaz and shake on the imurim. So you have fats, chaz and shake on one hand. And then when you have bread, so you have the fats, the chaz and shake, and the bread on the top.
It's a good sandwich.
Yeah, beautiful sandwich. As soon as we're going to see it's a smelly sandwich. I don't understand what they're doing over here. Hey, Chafek Mother, where do we find that that's how it was done? That the tznufa was done with the cotton, meaning that the lechem went on top of the chaz v'shake went on the fats. And he brings down the pasuk in the Hebrew. It says, it says, Lokach chalis matzah achas, chaz lechem b'shem achas b'rakim kechad, v'yasem ala chalavim. He put the bread over the fats. And the fats was v'al hayam, was on the thigh. So, says the Gemara, my time. What's the reason for setting up this thing? Where do we learn this now? It says Sheikha Trumim Chazei Nufa Al Isha Halavim. It says you take the thigh, and it says the breast Atnufa, which is supposed to be raised. Where do you put it? On the Halavim. It says Al Isha Halavim. So the thigh and the breast goes on the Halav. Yavi, they were brought Lahanif Tnufa to be raised. And then it says. As a chaylev, in fact, how could you say that? You're saying that the chaz v'shake went on the fats. Now we're going to have a pasuk that says the fats went on the chaz v'shake. Receive as a chaylev ala chaz v'yana. It says the fats went on the breast. And before we said that the breast, we had a pasuk the opposite. Abaye says you have to understand what's going on here. Ahu the ma'aselei me beis hamidulchai. He says you brought it like this. When you started off. And he placed it in the klisharis. He first came, he placed the chalavim, which was on the chaz v'shake. Okay, you started off with the fats on the chaz v'shake, and then you put it into a keli. You gave it to the second kohen, into a keli, and now when you put it into the keli, to the second kohen, you started off with the chalavim on the chaz v'shake, turned it over into the keli, so the chaz v'shake was on the chalavim. It says but it says that they put the chalavim on the chazes. It says there was a third kohen. He says the first kohen came from the shlachtris. Okay, 3 kohanim. So the first kohen came with the fats on top of the chaz v'shake. He gave it to the second kohen. He turned it over, so the chaz v'shake was on the chalav. And then the second kohen gave it to the third kohen and turned it back. Chalav matanu makvele, v'azol makvele. The third kohen went and burned it. So for Hakamashman, and this is what he wants to teach us. That there were 3 kohanim. The B'idon Shleish kohanim. You need 3 kohanim. Why? It says when you have a multiple of people, that's beautification for the king. When there are more people working. Ushtei halechem, ushnei kivsei atzeres. It says that how did they do with the shtei halechem? The shtei halechem they put on the 2 kivsei atzeres. There were 7 kivsei atzeres. Then there was another 2 kivsei atzeres, and then there was the rams, 2 rams. It says that the kohen raised them on the lechem habikurim. I would have thought that you take the keves, right? You have the sheet. Let's say this is the sheet, and this is the lechem. The sheet went on top of the lechem, stood on top of the lechem. So the lechem is like on the floor, and the feet is on the lechem.
That could be a strong kohen that way.
No, but he's saying that the keves was standing on the lechem. The lechem was on the floor. Comes the pasuk and says no, that the lechem kurim had to be on top of the 2 kvasim. Says what's going on here? Al Shnei Kvasim, you have, if the pasuk, it says Lechem HaBikurim Knufa Al Shnei Kvasim, that the Lechem has to be on the top. Yacha, but I thought that Lechem has to be Al Gabe Kvasim. Loina, to tell us, says Mal Lechem HaBikurim. You just had a pasuk, Ve'henav HaKoyin Oisim Al Lechem HaBikurim. Al Lechem HaBikurim means that it was on top of, the kevis was on top of the bread. Then you have the Al Shnei Kvasim, that the bread was on the Shnei Kvasim. So it says, which way is it? Yeah, if it's Al Shnei Kvasim, so the Lechem was on the Bikurim. And then it says, Al Lechem HaBikurim, which it means that the Kvasim were on the top. Which one was it? Was the Kvasim on the top or the Lechem on the top? You have two psukim saying the opposite, but now you have it equal, either this way or that way. When you're there, in Lechem Al Kvasim. I don't know, Agabe Kvasim. Yes, Astina. So which one do we go? Is it the bread on the keves, or being Kvasim Al Lechem? Or the keves was on the bread?
That's where the Whopper came from. They added two
breads. Wait, now yet, 1 second. It says, he says, from one place we learn out that in every place the lechem was on top of the kvasim. Where do you find that the lechem was on top of the kvasim? When they did the Shus Mei Ameluyim, the Shmenis Mei Ameluyim, by the Chanuk Samishkan, that's how they did it. The lechem was on top. Rabbi Yosef ben Amshum kvasim lamayla. Rabbi Yosef ben Amshum says no, the kvasim was on top of the bread. So what does it mean al shnei kvasim? If the kvasim was on top of the bread, but it says in the pasuk al shnei kvasim that the bread was on top, and you're saying the kvasim was on top, which one is it? So he says, what's al shnei kvasim? Well, Shiva. He says there was Shiva, there was Shiva kvasim. Then there was a separate Shnei Kvasim, which was called Shnei Kivsei Atzeres. So he said the only one that had the Tnufah with the bread on top of it, the Kivsei on top of it, was only the two, not the Shiva. Okay? He says, I'll solve the problem. You had a pasuk that says that the Shnei Kvasim was on top of the bread. You had a pasuk that said the bread was on top of the Shnei Kvasim. So I'll solve your problem. Turn the behemoth sideways. The behemoth has two legs. Stick it between the two legs, the bread. It's going to really smell good. From Batachat, the gate between the two legs. So you have the leg on top of the keves, and they have the on top of the lechem, the top leg on the sideways, and then you have the bottom leg. So the bread is on top of it.
The bottom, the middle.
It's in the middle, like a sandwich. So it's mamish a sandwich. So now you're covering both sides. Your mother's going to say, now you have both. Rabbi said, you're not going to take a bread from the feast of a kohen and give it to a melech basar v'adam. For the king of all kings, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're going to give him a bread zwischen the feast. He says you put it next to it, the bread next to the kevis. It says al on top. Others say Avnuna said to Chisda. Rebbe goes according to his reasoning. The Amma al, when the Torah says al, this samach, it means next to it. Not in the middle. It says when asata al marechas levein zaka. It says you should place on the marechas levein zaka. Rabbi Yoima al this samach. It means by the shulchan you have 6 breads and 6 breads, and in between the breads you have 2 spoons with Toiles. In order to eat those breads, they took those 2 spoons and brought it out to the Mizbeach HaChitzon and burnt it, and then you are allowed to eat the bread. But look what it says. It says you should put it on the marachas. He says no, it means b'samach. Over there it means between, not al b'samach. Maybe al means mamash on top. So he says I'll prove you again that al means b'samach. It says you should spread the pareiches over the ark. And we know the ark was like this, and the pareiches was a mechitza. Yeah, the ark was next to it. But You didn't put al, you didn't put the paris over the other, it was next to it. So too, haviyema al the summer. So that's how I know al means next to it. So maybe Milo made it. It says this a little bit. You got it. It says you raised it up, down, front, back. You did it to all the sides. What's the Indian of Melech Mevi? Let me she'aba haruchis shalai, for the sake, for the person that owns all the ruchas of the world. It's for the sake, for the one that the heaven and earth is his. And as you saw, they learn this way. It's to hold back from these bad ruchis. You could say ruchis, you could teach many ways.
Yeah.
You can learn today's days, the missiles, to hold back. We have nisim the flies. To hold back the bad dew. You know, the tal, the dew that we have every morning, so there's bad dew. To hold back from the bad dew. It's going on the it's the hanafa, the raising, that's not the mitzvah. That's a sign that she is shirayim of a mitzvah. It's not the mitzvah. But this shirayim mitzvah is such a ma'ila ba'akvin as apronis. It holds back tragedies. The tnufa shirayim mitzvah. The tnufa is just a shirayim mitzvah. It's not the mitzvah. It's not me'akim the kapara. If you don't do the tnufa, you still the chuppah. But it shows you it has such a power that can hold back tragedies. It holds back bad spirits and utlonen roim and bad do. Amar Rabbi said so too by Lulu. Rabbi Yaakov. First of all, I want to tell you, Rabbi Yaakov was a guy who the shed kissed his feet because he was. He said that Pnina and the Satan by a certain story did it to Shem Shemayim. And he said a whole shot was Shem Shemayim. And when the Satan heard it, he kissed his feet. So there's a Gemara that says that they in one place there was a snake with 8 heads and was attacking the people of the town. And they called the Ravacha because he was the only one that knew how to do it to get rid of this. So he had to go for no, he had keiches. So every time he made a bow, another head of the snake fell down. He bowed 7 times, and all the heads of the snake fell off. Anyway, he would also do these wavings, and he pointed and he showed like this. This stunner. He says, this is an arrow in the eyes of the sun. And then the Gemara says, no, this wasn't so. It wasn't. We don't say it that way. Because you can anger the Satan, and the Satan will get even more angry if you're saying this is a thumb in your eye, this is a chetz in your eye.
A stock in the egg.
A stock in the egg. Because what was the waves supposed to do? To show him that once we wave, you have no koyach. Yeah, he has no koyach, but you don't have to stick it, you don't have to say this is a chetz in your eye. The 2 kirsei atzeres, Nufalach HaShchita. The Zivchei Shamei Tzibur needed the Hanafa after the Shchita. And when they would do the raising, they didn't cut the behemoth, they did the whole behemoth. Yeah, the Chazar Sheikh. But the Chum say, no. Took out the Chazar Sheikh, and then they did the Hanafa. What are they arguing about? Bedun Mino, or bedun Mino, let me just tell you, Mino means
one from the other.
Learn one from the other, exactly. All the dinim mitala pratim. And bedun Mino ve'uki basa means you learn the ikar. You need hanafa. Then how the hanafa, the details, is each place has its way. That's what they're arguing. That we learn out the makar of the ikar with the pratim. Maziv cheshama yachid tnufalach hashchita avsin cheshama tzibur tnufalach hashchita. Number one, the ikar is that you learn that you need a tnufa, you need to raise the animal after the shchita.
You learn that tnufa is from a Kenyan.
Yeah, that's Hagbah.
Hagbah.
Hagbah, yeah. But here we're saying, no, you mamish lifted the animal. So he says, we know after the shechita you have to do a tenufa. Ma hasam b'chaz v'sheik, av hachanam b'chaz v'sheik. And he learns, just like by the Shama Yachid, it was b'chaz v'sheik, so too the Shama Tzibur. But Rabbi Yisrael, no, din dumina v'oki b'asa. He says like this, ma zivich Shama Yachid tenufa la'achar shechita, av zivich Shama Tzibur we're going to learn out the main thing. That after Shechita, a Shalmei Tzibur, we learn out from Shalmei Yachid, you need to have a waving. But when it comes to what has to be waved, that each place in itself. A Shalmei Yachid is the Chaz v'Sheik. Hazam, Chaz v'Sheik. By the Shalmei Yachid is Chaz v'Sheik. Aval Hacha K'mei Shein. But when it comes to Shalmei Tzibur, you raise it as a whole animal, just like when you raise it when it's alive. When the animal is fully alive, that's how you raise it if it's Yishon, the whole animal together. Papa says the Kula Dumi everybody says you learn out exactly the Shalmei Tzibur from the Shalmei from Shalmei Yachid, that only the Chaz v'Sheik was raised. Why? By Shalmei Tzibur we do the whole animal. He says Ki Hasam, Ma Hasam, just like when they raise it. What are you raising? You're raising what has to go to the kohen. What goes to the kohen by Shalmei Yachid? The Chaz v'Sheik, right? Avhacha, so too by Shalmei Tzibur. What do you have to raise? What goes to the kohen by Shalmei Tzibur? The whole animal. So that's why we raise the whole animal. So it's not a stira, it's mina. It's still exactly like Shalmei Yachid, but by Shalmei Yachid we learn out whatever is given to the kohen, and by Shalmei Yachid only the Chaz v'Sheik is given to the kohen. By Shalmei Tzibur the whole animal is given to the kohen. Avina says everybody says you only learn out. Yeah. We only learn out that there's a tnufa after the shechita, but each place has its own details. And this is the reason why the Rabbanan say that by Shalmei Yachid it says Shalmeyam, which is written by Shalmei Yachid Ribuyu, is a ribuyu to say all categories of shlamim, even a Shalmei Tzibur, which is done after the shechita, is only the Chaz v'Sheik itself. Rabbi Shimon Shloisha Minim. This is a new Indian. Here it's very simple. Rabbi Shimon Shloisha Minim. There's like this. Let me just tell you. There's three dinim. There's tnufa, a raising you do when the animal's alive. There's a tnufa when you do after the animal's dead, and then there's a inyan of smicha. These are the three dinim we're going to talk about. Smicha.
The balabos,
or the kohen, other the kohenim, or the balabatim. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Shimon Shloisha Minim. There are three types of kabbanas. Tu'un in Sholosh mitzvahs, where in general there are three mitzvahs, like I told you, the tnufa alive while it's alive, the tnufa when it's dead, and the smicha. And he says shtayim. Two out of the three mitzvahs b'chol echad is by each of these three kabbanas. Ushlishis, but the third mitzvah, ein bahem, they don't have it. Each of the three kabbanas have only two out of the three mitzvahs. Not the same. Each one has a different. Okay, these are they. Zivchi Shalmei Yachid, Zivchi Shalmei Tzibur, V'Hasham Tzedek. Those are the three kabbanas. Now we're going to start telling you each one which two out of the three mitzvahs it has. Zivchi Shalmei Yachid, Tunin Smicha, Chayim, Utnufa, Shchutim. It needs the smicha while it's alive, and the tnufa only after it's slaughtered. But there's no raising while the animal's alive. Now that was Zivchei Shalmei Yachid. Zivchei Shalmei Tzibur, Tu'unin Tnufa B'chayim, even while it's alive. Versus Shalmei Yachid doesn't need Tnufa B'chayim. And Tnufa again, Zivchei Shalmei Tzibur, Tnufa Chayim, Ushchutin. Say when it's alive, say when it's dead, it needs both. It's missing smicha, no smicha. Asham Etzera, Ton Smicha,
Usnufa.
Usnufa Chai. The opposite of the Tnufa by Simcha Shamayach, Tnufa only
There was
Shchut.
a difference.
The aim by Tnufa Shachut. And by Shamayach, it was Tnufa Shachit, and Tnufa Chai. Okay, now he starts off asking. The Yiyuz of the Shamayach, Shamayach, we know it needs only Tnufa after the Shchita. In fact, you want to tune in Tnufa Chai, let it have Tnufa while it's alive, also. Mekava Chema, Umav Zivcha Shamay Tzibur, She'ein Tunin Smicha. Zivcha Shamay Tzibur doesn't need the Smicha. Mechaim. But Tunin Tnufa Chaim, it needs Tnufa when it's alive. Zivcha Shamay Yach She'ein Tunin Smicha. Chaim, it does need the mitzvah Smicha. Ein Adin She'tunin Tnufa Chaim, shouldn't they have to also have the Tnufa, the raising when it's alive? Says you want to be Rachmana, the Torah excluded by Shammai Yachid. Gabi Zivcha Shammai Tzibur, it says Oisam. Means Oisam, meaning only Shammai Tzibur, you do the waving while it's alive. L'miyuti, Zivcha Shammai Yachid, that the Tnufa is not done when it's alive. Now he's going to ask on Zivcha Shammai Tzibur. Here, Zivcha Shammai Tzibur, what's the din? Shammai Tzibur needs only Tnufa, but no Smicha. Has the Tnufa alive and deaf, but no smicha. In fact, you want to tune in smicha. Let it need smicha. Mikava chayna. Umazik kashamet tzibur shein tune tnuf mechayim. Madach shamet yachid doesn't need a tnufa when it's alive. But tune in smicha, it still needs smicha. Zilch shamet tzibur shetune tune mechayim. Ein adin shetune smicha. She have to have smicha. I mean, having a gemini, it's a kabbalah. Allah chalamesh mesinai. Shtei smichas betzibur. There's only two smichas by two kabbanis. The Pahel of Davish al Tzibur needs a smicha, or and the Sorah Mishtaleach le'azazel. Others argue, like we had before in the Gemara, that it goes on Siriyah Avodah. But only those two kabbanis need smicha. Everything else doesn't. That's why by Shamei Tzibur it doesn't. I mean by Shamei Tzibur it doesn't get smicha. Because only two kabbanis by Shaman Tzibur, by Tzibur gets needs smicha. Amar Avina said, oh, I just said that. In fact, you want to be, hey, Asham Etzera. Asham Etzera, we said, needs only a waving when it's alive. Not
in
fact, you want to tone Tnufa, Shachrit, let it have to have a Tnufa after it's slaughtered. You want to wait a second?
No. When it gets bigger, it's just a little.
Says you want to make kava chayim from a kava chayim. Mazik shama yachid she'ain tu'unin tnufa chayim. Shama yachid doesn't need tnufa when it's alive, but tu'unin tnufa shchutim. But it does need tnufa the waving after it's slaughtered. Ashma tzedek shaton tnufa chayim. Ashma tzedek needs the waving when it's alive. Ein adin shaton tnufa shachrit. Shouldn't need the waving when it's slaughtered. And you want to be the Rachmana, the Torah excluded Gabi Zivcha Shama Yachid. It says the word Oisai. Oisai means the Kavan Shlam Shal Yachid alone needs Tnufa after the Shechita. L'miyute Hasham Etzera, to exclude Hasham Etzera, that only a Kavan Shlam Shal Yachid needs Tnufa after the Shechita, but not Hasham Etzera. Tana Abana, Chamisha Shevi Ukarm Echad. 5 people who brought one Karm B'Shutvas, Echad Meinav Al Yidei Kulam. One does the Tnufa for the rest. For element. But Isha, what's if a woman brings her carbon? Kayim maybe al yada. The Kayim brings for her. Yeah. So too, if you're sending a carbon from Medin Sam to Yisrael, Kayim may al yada. The Kayim raises it for him.